called earth material. Okay. I put this earth matter in here to trick you, and so I see I got you tricked. All right, but yes, it is called earth material. All right, and the materials that make up the atmosphere, like Destin told us, it is air. What makes up the hydrosphere? That is water. What makes a lithosphere is soil. And what makes up the biosphere is plants and animals, and that also includes human beings. All right. Nice job, Alexis. Thanks for letting us learn from you. Let's go ahead and move on. Go ahead, Ms. Vazquez.
Thank you. All right, so we talked about when the rays come inside to Earth and what happens, right? So we generally have an idea, but I don't really know exactly what happens. I know when we get warm, but what does that do exactly to our bodies or to other things or other Earth materials? So I want you to think. I want Neo actually to unmute himself, and can you read number 1, and then we'll have someone else answer the question. Mr. Bangurah, can we go back to the first one? Thank you. Go ahead, Neo.
If Neo sits outside in the sun with a robot suit on in a pool, how do you think the heat will affect him and his surroundings?
Thank you, Neo. You can unmute yourself. Everybody who's Neo's friend, raise their hand and answer the question. What do we think is going to happen if Neo is sitting outside in a robot suit in a pool? What do you think is going to happen to him and his surroundings? Let me see if I have some hand raised. Amani, what do you think is going to happen if we put Neo in a robot suit in a pool? What do you think is going to happen? And it's really, really hot outside. Say that again. He's going to get shocked. Imagine there's no electricity. That's a very good guess. But imagine there's no electricity. What's going to happen to the water in the pool that Neo is in if it's really, really hot outside? You don't know what's going to happen? All right, well, that's okay. So for everyone else who's maybe wondering and really doesn't know, we're going to watch a couple of videos and we're going to see if you guys can answer this question afterwards. You're going to be using your scientific observation skills. Drew, I'm coming to you after this, okay?
Awesome. So on this first video, I want you to pay attention to how does the Eiffel Tower, what happens to the Eiffel Tower, all right, during the summertime? And real quick, what is the Eiffel Tower made of? What kind of material is the Eiffel Tower made out of? Or what do you think? Go ahead and type your answer in the chat. Yeah, right. It's some form of metal. Okay, to be specific, it's made out of iron.
And its average height is about 324 meters. But surprisingly, to the rescue. The Eiffel Tower is mostly made of iron.
I'm gonna unmute. Oh, she's not here. Let's go, Kishar. What happened to the Eiffel Tower during the summertime? You want me to play it again? I'm going to play it again for you. All right.
Its height increases by about 17 centimeters. Why? Because of thermal expansion.
Great. What's happening, Kishar? Yeah, so the Eiffel Tower is expanding, right? During the summertime, we know that's when it's hot. That is called thermal expansion, all right? We're going to see why that happens in just a second. So I'm looking for somebody to be able to tell me why it expands during the summertime.
Oh. That's okay. We're going to talk about that next, so let's move on to the next video so they can kind of get another idea.
All right, let's see.
How does that happen? Well, what happens actually is that the solar rays, as we talked about earlier, come into the atmosphere, which is the air that we breathe, the space of air that we breathe in the sun, right? And you can click next, Mr. Bangurah. And those, some of them are reflected, which means that a large majority of them are reflected out back into space. And then some of it becomes absorbed or taken into the Earth's spheres. But then what happens to that solar energy once it comes inside? Well, what happens is that it comes in as radiation. So all of that solar energy comes inside. So radiation was hitting the Eiffel Tower. And then it actually caused something that we're going to talk about later. So you can click next, Mr. Bangurah. So it's sent as waves of energy by sources of light, of heat or light that travels through translucent matter. So air, translucent means clear. So the sun sends a radiation through the clear air onto the surface of Earth materials. And then what happens is that there's Earth and there's air. Things that are touching, when one gets hot, it's going to transfer it to another. So what happens is that the Earth gets really, really, really hot from all this radiation coming from the sun, and then it transfers all of that heat through conduction, which is two matters touching, into the air. So the Earth gets hot, and then the air gets hot because the Earth gets hot, and it gets sent through the Earth into the air. Okay, and we're going to talk more about this next week. So don't worry if it kind of is a bit confusing right now. But just know that radiation hits the ground warms up, it sends the energy to the air through conduction, and that is how we heat up the Earth and how things can be living on this Earth.
All right. And so you just learned a lot. And so you're going to have an opportunity to show what you know by completing today's exercise.